Welcome back to my podcast. Today I have a friend with me. Hannah is someone that I actually met on... Wait, did we know... No. Okay, so we had a class together, and then we actually got to know each other on our trip to Europe.
Yes.
And Hannah learned that I had a podcast and was like, yo, I've been thinking about starting one. I said, come on, and you can just check it out. So here she is, and we're going to talk about our trip to Europe. Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Hannah Cluff. I am a psychology major at Southern Utah University. This is my last semester, so I'll actually be graduating with Kyra this coming month. Did I already say I grew up here in Southern Utah?
No. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't remember.
I did. I grew up in Southern Utah.
Love it.
Grew up on a farm, have a pretty big family, and I love to be outside and interact with people. And yes, I am thinking about starting a podcast.
There you go. Do you have any ideas of what you'd call it or anything?
I have no idea. Okay. Obviously, it's going to be something related to psychology, but haven't got that pinned down yet.
Fair enough. Well, if you're not even knowing if you're going to start one, of course,
Yeah.
Okay, so we decided we were going to talk about our trip to Europe. And originally I asked Hannah, I was like, hey, what do you want to talk about? And then we were like, what if we talked about our trip to Europe? And I was like, okay, but it may not be all positive because I don't have all 100% great things to say. And she said, me neither. So where do we want to start?
That is such a great question. We could honestly start just even from boarding the plane wherever we left here in the U.S. because that's where my kind of started.
Okay, there we go. Actually, that's a pretty good point because my flight there, the long one, that 10 hours and 40 minutes one, was miserable.
Yeah, right.
Because it was so hot, there was barely any room. I was so claustrophobic, which I'm normally not. Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay, let's back up though. So maybe let's even back up to deciding to go on the trip.
Yeah.
Where did you hear about it? How come you decided to go?
So I actually heard it from Dr. Mason, Sensation and Perception. That's a class that we had together.
Right.
And I had talked to him after the class, and he really encouraged me to go. I have always wanted to go to Europe or travel. I'm kind of an adventure bug. It was pretty easy for me to make the decision to do something like study abroad. I just didn't know what it would entail or how it would change my life. I just knew it would be an awesome opportunity, and it looked good on grad applications and stuff. So
I forget that it looks good on a grad application.
it's a good perk.
Yeah, that's true. I was actually, another thing is I wanted those 3 credits for my diversity.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
So that was helpful too. So then you were like, okay, and then did you end up having to save up for it, or did you get a scholarship, or?
So I did actually get a scholarship. I only got $250 scholarship. I did save up for it, but it didn't take me long to save up for it because, I don't know if you know this, but I'm also working full-time while going to school. It's so good. I am pretty financially stable as a college student can be at this point.
I like it.
So saving up for it, yes, I did have a budget and everything, but it didn't take me as long as other people had because I didn't even decide I was going until November. Had bought my plane ticket in December, and then we were gone in May. So,
Where do you work?
I work at Southwest Utah Youth Center. It is behavioral corrections for teenage boys. Yeah.
Okay, we should talk more about this afterwards.
I love it. So yes, we can.
Anyway, okay, that interests me.
Yeah.
The end. Okay, so you decided you wanted to go. It didn't take you too long. That's awesome. I kind of already did a few podcast episodes explaining to my whole journey, but I did end up having to save. So I started working 32-hour weeks while going to school, which it's intense. And I was tired and it was a lot. So I worked really hard to go on this trip, and I feel like that's important for everyone to know, that I worked hard to go on this trip.
Yeah,
not a spoiled brat.
Good for you.
Which, even if someone did have something completely paid for, I don't even think they're a spoiled brat, honestly. I just am saying that. But I wanted to make that clear since I don't have entirely all 100% positive things that like, oh, it was all paid for and I hated it, Yeah. And I didn't hate it. The first place that we went... Oh, wait. Let's go back to the plane ride. So how was that then?
Okay, so I just have to preface that in any form of traveling, I love being at the destination, but the point of, like, I'm on a boat, I'm on an airplane, I'm in a car, I hate it.
Right.
Hate it. I get really nauseous, and so motion sickness it's awful. I'm really sensitive to it. And so just that, and then, like you said, the heat, and you get claustrophobic, and you just... it makes me gross, and I don't like it. So I already have a lot of anxiety on airplanes specifically. And so the fact that this is going to be the longest airplane ride that I have ever been on, it's going to be over an ocean, which I also hate the ocean. And so just my nerves were already shot just being in Vegas at the airport. Luckily, I did have a friend with me, Sierra Phillips. I don't know if you're friends with her or if you even know her, but we flew together, which was really awesome. And then I don't know if this is TMI or not, but I actually was on my time of the month during my first flight.
No, that's not TMI. That's life, bro.
That
sounds miserable.
Like, I don't know how, yeah. So, and it was the first day.
That's even worse.
I know. So, like, the flow was really heavy. My cramps were really bad. I had menstrual headaches. Like,
you were just probably pretty grumpy.
Dying. Yeah, I was not doing good. So we had one flight to LA, and then while we were in LA, that's when we flew, and we had another layover in Frankfurt. So on the big plane in LA, headed to Europe, I had a window seat, which would be great any other time, but
not when you're flying over the ocean.
Not when you're flying over the ocean, and not when you are having the devil is visiting you.
Right.
So I had an inside seat, and there was a couple sitting next to me, and it looked like they were probably going on their honeymoon or something. Like, I don't know what was going on, but it was a rough life.
PDA, is that what you're saying?
I was just so worried about it. At one point in the flight, we had like 2 hours left until we had arrived in Frankfurt, and I was just hoping that my body would keep itself together so I wouldn't have to go to the restroom.
That sounds like a disaster all in of itself, yes.
And 2 hours until we were to Frankfurt, I leaned over to the guy and said, I don't want to wake you or your wife up, but I need to go to the restroom. I felt so bad. Just because, I'm already so socially awkward as it is. But, yeah, I had a female issue, and it was not good. So that was my flight to Europe.
How long was your flight? Because different flights are,
I think ours was 11 hours.
Yeah, I think ours was 10 hours and 40 minutes or something.
Yeah. So I do think that from LA to Frankfurt it was 11. So, like, it was a longer one. And I do know that our long flight back was a bit shorter than the one to Europe.
I think that was our case with ours, too. Yeah, the flight back was shorter.
Yeah. So then finally we had landed in Frankfurt. I'm like, okay, we're on the ground. But also everything is written in German and I don't know what's happening. And I'm so on edge and I'm so tired and I don't know what's going on. And we go to board onto our plane, and this is the first time I have ever felt discrimination directly towards me purely because I'm an American. So
fascinating.
Yeah. So what had happened, if I remember correctly, I honestly didn't even remember this up until this point. So we were getting on our plane. I know that it was either me or Sierra. I don't remember who it was, but somebody just kind of like turned their head and coughed into their elbow. And this lady yelled something German at us and scowled at us and leaned away. And so then from then on, and we were like near her the whole time. Our seats were near her.
No.
She, like, literally the entire time looked at us, scowled, and was just leaning as far away as she possibly could. Like, I'm not even being dramatic. And that was really all it was.
You were like, what? Do I have cooties?
I know. It's like, it's because I am from America, probably. But, like, what? So that was crazy to me.
Did you guys fly in a day early, or did you fly in and then we started the trip with everyone?
Remember, I think...
We flew in a day early and stayed at a hotel.
Yeah, no, we flew in the day of.
Okay, and I remember being starving. Like, so hungry. And it was like 3 a.m. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, okay, the hotel has breakfast. We're going to be fine.
Yeah. Joke's on you.
Jokes,
We're in Europe.
Jokes on me. I was picturing like waffles and like toast and things that would really fill me up. No, we go downstairs and there's cucumbers and cheese.
Yep, that's your breakfast.
And tomatoes.
In Europe.
And I was like...
Don't forget about the lunch meat.
Oh, yep.
Yes.
I was starving. I was so hungry. Anyway, so yeah, we flew in the day before. So you flew in the day of.
Yeah.
And then you met everyone at the first... I thought it was so funny when they were like, yeah, this is the nicest hotel we'll be staying at. And I was like...
Uh-oh.
I'm like, wait, what?
Which is funny, because personally I think that the hostel in Paris was probably the nicest one that we stayed at.
Oh, yeah, the hostel in Paris was very nice.
Yeah.
Well, it had that cute little... What's it called?
Curtain
yeah, the
by your
curtain
bed.
that, like, would draw close. And so you had, like, a little area all to yourself. And there was a little light. And, yeah, that makes the most sense for a hostel.
Yeah, plus Paris was, like, the area of the hostel was the quietest that we had stayed in.
Great point.
Yeah,
Great
because
point.
in Prague, we were on a really busy road. In Germany, we were, like, above a bar or something. I don't even know.
No, it's true. I remember
then,
people,
yeah.
like, drunkenly singing outside the window.
Yes.
But it was so hot inside that we had to keep the window open.
It was very... and it was not a good mix for, like, as exhausted as you are to be on a trip like that. It's crazy.
No, and they're just drunkenly singing downstairs, and you're like, please.
Let's go away.
I'm just trying to sleep. Oh my gosh, yeah. So we both agreed, we kind of talked before we started this podcast, that we both loved Prague.
Yes.
It was alive. I thought that it felt lively, it felt exciting. People were just walking around constantly. The flooring was like pebbles, or what is it? Cobblestone? There we go. And so it was like from the movies, it felt like, you know?
For sure.
And I also loved the Prague, like the Jewish cemetery that we visited and the church that we visited. And then when we were walking like through the area to that place, it literally felt like we were in a scene from a movie.
Yeah.
What did you think of Prague?
So I absolutely loved Prague. And for me, I very much took it in as like a breath of fresh air or like a rebirth of like, yeah, I'm exhausted, but look at this incredible place that's brand new. Like I've never been anywhere
We're in
like
Prague.
here before. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was just so new and bright and shiny and exciting. And yes, I was sleep deprived and yes, I was exhausted, but I was also so ready to like, you know, get it on. Like, let's party. Let's learn some stuff, you know?
That was awesome.
Yeah, so I super loved Prague. And I can never pick a favorite between Prague and Paris, but like for Prague specifically, I do like the activities that we did there. I also really love the Jewish cemetery. It was incredible to me. Like just that whole day where we went and we toured synagogues, and it was, I don't know, it was really cool to me. And there are things that I learned about World War II. World War II. I was going to say, I should know that.
No, it's okay.
World War II that I didn't know before. And so it was incredible. It truly was.
I really, really appreciated and valued that we had a guide.
Oh, me too.
I wish that more places we went, we had a guide. I love learning from someone who knows.
Yeah, and not only, like, I like the in-person guide, because even when we went to Dachau, we had the audio one, and you could go at your own pace, and it was all fine and good, but where it's an actual person that you can interact with, and you can go and you can ask questions, and she tells it from her perspective, and you can get to know your guide. It's a lot more engaging, and you know, we're human beings, we're social creatures, and so we crave that engagement with each other.
Absolutely. Wasn't her name Yvonne?
Something like that.
Or Yvette.
I just remember she was really cute.
I feel like it was Yvonne. Yeah, she was adorable.
She was adorable. And
I think she was probably in her mid-20s.
Probably. And my favorite thing, I just have to say this because it made me laugh so hard in a place where I shouldn't have laughed. But we were in the Jewish cemetery, and she was showing us like the king's headstone, and with the like ducks that were kissing on it or whatever, and like every few people that would pass, she'd just point at it and say, the ducks. I thought it was so cute. That's all.
She was adorable. She really was. And she did so good, too.
Oh, absolutely.
So good. And we got one of those fancy, like, we got a little headset so that she could talk into the mic and we could hear her even if she wasn't right next to us, which I think is so smart because if you have a big group of people, it's not reasonable to yell to everyone so they can hear, especially in these places that you're supposed to be a little bit more quiet and reverent. And
yeah, for sure.
she could just talk normally and we could hear her and it was really cool. I think my favorite part of that whole little guide was seeing the names on the walls. That was like, whoa.
And they weren't even done painting names.
They were done painting names. And then my favorite part, which I mean this in like a reverent way, was going upstairs and seeing the paintings and the drawings that the kids had drawn. Yeah. So you go upstairs and there was this little area where they had several different, I don't know, pieces of paper or like drawings that children had done from the concentration camps, and it was very realistic. I mean, like, not realistic as in realistic, but I mean they painted what they were experiencing, or they drew what they were experiencing. And I think I have some pictures and things somewhere, but for example, they drew the showers, and they drew lots of different things. What would you, do you remember?
I do. I actually think I wrote about that in my paper. The thing that was crazy to me is I had to think about it in a perspective of like, okay, you take these drawings from these kids now, and the drawings really are so modern. Like, I think people often forget how close we actually are to the World War still. It was not that long ago. You take pictures of these drawings that these kids had drawn in the concentration camps, and then pictures that kids draw today, and you compare it, and you can see just in the drawings what the psychological state of the children are. And it's so sad that those children were exposed to such horrific things as young as they were.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just going to say, like, those paintings and those drawings, I don't think there were any paintings. I mean drawings. Yeah. Those drawings, left me dumbfounded. Yeah, I was like, you're joking me. Like, this is terrible.
It was the most heartbreaking point of that tour.
Yes, which is why it was my favorite, because it was so perspective changing.
Mm-hmm. It was super emotional. It evoked that heavy emotion within you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just like the well-being of mankind was, struck a chord, and you're like, how could they do that in good conscience? I just don't know. I don't know.
And like, how are all of these people, like, even if some of them were not great, how are every single one of these people considered bad people to you? Like, it's awful. Yeah. It's truly horrific.
It is. So that was Prague. And then I think we were there for 2 days, right?
We were in Prague for 3 days.
3 days. Yeah. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed being in Prague for multiple days.
I honestly would have been happy if we stayed in Prague.
Yeah. But I think I had the most beautiful pictures there.
I had the most energy to get the most beautiful pictures there, so I agree.
There you go. There you go. You spoke the truth right there. Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. Because we were just walking all the time, which I was expecting. Yeah. But it was still hard. And I remember, this is so embarrassing. We went to go get lunch, and I ended up getting a salad. You know what I asked for? I asked for ranch.
Of course you did.
And the guy looked at me and goes, "What's ranch?" I was like, I felt so embarrassed. I was like, this is awful. I was like, never mind. Like, just kidding. Oh, and then I think I ended up getting something else than a salad because I was like, I don't know if I can eat a salad without ranch. I'm terrible. And then I remember someone was like, JC was like, oh my gosh, the Fanta is so good. So we got a Fanta, and then it was, I don't know, like less than 12 ounces, I felt like, and I was so thirsty. I was telling Hannah, which I've already said on this podcast before, I was basically just dehydrated and starving the entire trip. All 5 countries that we were in. Yes. I was just so hungry. So hungry. Oh, anyway, so then we were in Prague, and then after we went to Prague, and then after Prague we went to Vienna or Munich? Was it Munich? Prague, Vienna, Munich. Prague, Munich, Vienna.
It was either Vienna or...
I feel like it was Munich. I feel like it was Munich because Prague, Munich, Vienna, Paris, London.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That just feels right.
Yes, I think it was Munich.
Could be wrong, but I think we went to Munich next. So we went to Munich, and then that's when we got to visit Dachau, which is the very first concentration camp.
Yes, and I believe the second largest because Auschwitz is the largest.
Right. I think that makes sense.
That,
yeah, I think that makes sense. So we got to visit that, and we had little audio guides, which I thought was cool. I will say, at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, and then I just got really tired again.
Yeah.
And then I had a hard time.
Well, okay, so here's the thing that's crazy to me is, yeah, I also got tired, but that's because it was so nice outside, and the sun was shining, and the birds were singing, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful location, and that's part of what dumbfounded me, is like, how can such a horrible thing be in such a beautiful place, and how can they coexist? And I went all into the details of that in my paper as well, just about like the location of this and purely the beauty of it and the relaxation that it brings might have been the very thing that kept some of those people in the concentration camps hanging on. Like, that might have been their only thing. And,
wow, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah.
I remember looking at the gas chambers and being like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You like felt it, like the weight on your shoulders was just like,
it was present.
I'm here.
Yeah, it was present for sure. I would say one thing that was kind of hard is I wanted to learn so badly, but I also felt like there wasn't enough time, and I was so tired, and it was just hard.
Yeah, I feel like I couldn't learn in depth. I was losing lack of focus, so like I didn't learn nearly as much as I wanted to, but like there were things that stuck out for sure.
Absolutely. I definitely remember some things that I was like, oh my gosh. I knew that they did experiments and things, but there was a section where they like went over those and my jaw just like dropped on the floor.
Yeah, do you mind sharing some of those things?
Yeah, so they did, I think, I could be like making this up from my memory, which I think this is what it was, but one of them was they would break a bone, watch it heal, break it again, watch it heal, and see how many times they could break it and it would still heal.
Jeez.
That was one of the things that I remember seeing. And I know they did things with twins because I feel like
I do remember going over that.
I don't remember exactly what other things they did because I just don't remember. But I do remember certain drawings and things. There was like pictures and drawings and how emaciated they were, like starving.
Like, yeah,
skin and bones.
Truly.
No, literally skin and bones, actually. Not just like joking, but skin and bones. And that was crazy and just very, I don't know, not down to earth, like humbling. It was very humbling. It was very humbling for sure.
Yeah. I do have to admit though that even in Dachau, even though this kind of correlates to what you were saying earlier, like going through the camp itself still felt very like modern and new. Like, are we sure these things happen here? Like, they're claiming that horrible things happen here. But you didn't feel that heavy set of emotion kind of settle in to yourself until you walked into those gas chambers. Like, it wasn't real for me until I saw the gas chambers. A little bit when we went into, like, you know, where they slept and stuff.
The barracks.
But, yeah, it was not real until I saw the gas chambers. But, yeah, I think that, because Munich was my least favorite part of the trip. Germany was my least favorite country by far. I had a lot of bad experiences in Germany just personally. But I think with Dachau being the very first thing that we did, obviously we're still exhausted from traveling. We throw our stuff in this big closet, and then we're on a train to Dachau.
It was very tiring.
It was very tiring, and then, you know, your heart's just kind of cut out of your chest after that experience, and then, okay, have fun in Germany, kids. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and the other thing is the way out of Prague onto that train was exhausting because we had to carry our suitcases over these cobblestone pebbles for, I don't know, it was a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
It was just like...
It was at least a 15-minute walk to the train station.
At least. And it was at 5 a.m. or like 5:30 or what. Maybe it wasn't that early.
It was early.
It was early, and it was like no one was out yet. And we were like, boop, 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 boop. I was like, I really hope we're not waking people up. So we did that, and then we traveled, and then you're right, we walked to the hostel, which I don't remember what places it was at, but at one point we had to jump in the train. What is it? Not like the subway.
Metro.
The metro, thank you. We had to jump in the metro with all of our stuff during like rush hour. It was
And everybody's like, oh my gosh, we have to stick together, otherwise I don't know what's going on, and all the anxiety.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Exactly. I will say, it was very comforting having familiar faces.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, seeing people I knew from America, like, with us, the professors were definitely comforting.
I have an experience like that when we were in France, and my group will probably talk about this, but we were in Versailles, and it was already such a trip. And then we saw, I don't even remember his name. He's the sports medicine guy, the professor that went
Slaughter.
Nathan Slaughter. Yeah, Dr. Slaughter. We saw him. He had just got back from like a temple trip or something, and we all just kind of had a meltdown of like, oh my gosh, it's an adult. We're all adults, but this is an adult that we know. It was kind of funny.
No, that's why we call them adulty adults. Because, like, we're adults.
We are baby adults.
Yes.
We are children still.
Yes. But then there were, like, adulty adults, I'm like, they're grown-ups, Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, no, I totally, totally get that. And it was just scary because there's different languages. You're kind of right. People did kind of give you looks, and
for sure.
We were very clearly American.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, this is one thing that I tell everybody. It's like, you don't even have to be doing anything. You could be walking down the street, your head down, hands in your pocket. They will know that you are an American. You don't have to do a darn thing. And they're like, oh, let's target this person right here because they don't know what's happening. They don't know what I'm saying.
It's true.
I know what they are, though.
No, it's true. And I think the other problem was that I'm very chatty and I'm pretty loud.
Yeah.
Those are pretty American things over there.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that was another thing too, is sometimes, Monica was like, Kyra, shh.
Like, just keep it down.
I'm like, sorry. We're wrapping up because we're running out of time. So we're going to push play, or we're going to push stop and then push play, and we'll keep recording. But thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to embrace imperfection, find meaning, satisfaction, and joy from the journey. I'm Kyra.
This is Hannah.
And this is Imperfectly Broken, the podcast.